This podcast is brought to you by Independent Building Advice. IBA acknowledges traditional owners of the land and waters this podcast is recorded on. If you find this episode helpful, follow us for more so we can continue putting out free value for all homeowners in Australia. It really goes a long way. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to the Home Building Podcast. I'm Bayan Flaherty. I am here today to talk to you about extending your home in a cost-effective way. We are constantly going to people's houses and they have these grand plans for their homes, and then we say, this is what you're looking at price-wise, and they fall off their chairs. And most of the time, we can actually show them how they can do everything they want, but do it much more affordable and much cost-effective. And because we're seeing these problems all the time, Riley and I decided to jump on here and let's do a podcast on this and try and give people as much insight into how to extend your home without blowing your budget too much. All right, so let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about different terminology. So new build is demolishing your house and building a new home, or building a new home completely. A renovation is generally just putting in new kitchens and bathrooms or painting your house and not actually moving anything. You could technically say knocking down a wall is renovating, and then an extension is actually getting your current home and extending it. Okay, so that's just terminology. So we're talking about extending your home today, although we'll touch a little bit on renovations. So the most cost-effective way of renovating your home or extending your home is doing nothing. That's the cheapest possible way of doing anything. But really the cheapest way of doing something is relabeling a room and painting it, putting new carpet in there, and just not touching anything structural. If you're going to start touching something structural, prices really start to jump up. So let me just tell you a little bit of an analogy and give you an example to think about, and then I'll talk about why building and extending is so expensive. So if you speak to any trade, if they come out to your house to do a small job, such as, let's say, electricians changing one light, they're going to charge you quite a lot of money to do that because they've got to drive all the way out there. They've got to do that job. It might be a small job and they've got to pack all this stuff up and clean up and then leave. There's a lot involved in that. However, if they're doing a big job, like doing all the electricals for your home, that per hour price is going to come down because they're being more effective with their time. Now that seems really basic and obvious, but this comes into extending and why it gets so expensive to extend your home. So let's say you want to build, say, a 2-course, 2-brick high brick wall outside your home, like a little garden bed, and you got a bricklayer out there. The bricklayer is going to come out there and go, oh, okay, you want me to lay bricks here? Well, this is going to take me a couple of hours. Great, but I'm going to charge you for a whole day because I'm coming out here to do a small job. Then let's say a plasterer comes by or a renderer comes by and goes, okay, well, I've got to render this now. So they go to render it and goes, well, this is going to take me about 3 hours, but I'm going to charge you a whole day. And then a painter comes out there and goes, well, I'm going to take me an hour to paint this, but I'm going to charge you for a whole day. So you're paying 3 days worth of work for really only half a day's worth of work because it's only a small job, and that's where the costs come up. So when you extend your home, if you take that same analogy I just said then, when you extend your home, and let's say you're going to add another room to the back of your house, you're really doing 4 major things at once. You are carefully demolishing that part of the home, right? The wall, and knocking it out. You then have to make sure that you build the new part. So the new part, so you're getting the trades to come out, and just remember, it's not one trade, it's lots of trades there. But coming back and forth and charging you a full day each time. Then when they build a new part, you have to make sure the current home that you've got, the existing home, doesn't fall down. So you got to make sure you're sticking it up with scaffolding and basically it's all engineered to make sure that happens. And then you have to make sure the old and the new match up and look like it's always been like that. So you're doing a lot of coming and going all at once, and that makes it incredibly expensive to extend or renovate. To the point that I'm from Independent Building Advice, I'm the director of that company, and what we do in Independent Building Advice, we actually have a quiz. And the quiz is actually extremely accurate. A lot of time and energy has gone into that. And what that does, it asks you 10 questions, I think it is, and those questions ask you whether you should extend your home or whether you should just demolish and build. And quite often we go to people's houses and you go, do you know what? You're better off actually demolishing your home and building brand new, because it's going to be more affordable for you, but it's also going to mean that the new home's not going to be compromised too much with the old home. So there's a quiz you can look at. We'll have a link to that in the show notes or something to fill out. But sometimes it's better not to extend. It's often better just to build new. Now, that's not always the case. And a lot of times we go to our clients and we actually recommend, no, you should definitely extend. But how you extend it is important. So back to that story about extending your home and adding a room, that is expensive because you're doing a lot of things at once with not getting a huge outcome. So I figured we got the other day to add one room to a home was somewhere, we got a couple of quotes for it, was somewhere around the $100,000 to $120,000 to do that, which is incredibly expensive. And it sounds expensive because we're doing a lot of work for little income, for little outcome. The amount of work for a builder to do that one room is about the equivalent of doing a massive extension. They've still got to go to all the shires, have to organise the trades, the whole thing. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and the outcome is not great. In fact, it's often hard to find a builder to do those small jobs because they're going, I might as well get a bigger paying job elsewhere, and that's tricky. It's actually tricky for us too, and we're in the industry to find someone to just do that small job. We can do it, but that is a challenge for us to do that. So the bigger the extension, the better it is. So a common mistake that we see, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes we see people do, they rock up to their home, and they've gone, okay, we just want to push out that side, that side, that side, and that side. So what they're doing is they're doing 4 completely different projects all at once. They have to push out that way, build that, extend that part, make the new old, carefully demolish it, make sure the roof stays up. Same thing here, same thing here. And that's really an expensive way of doing it, and something that often we'll just go, that's not the way to go. Let's try and repurpose these rooms. So with the actual in mind, we try to find a great place to cut your home, demolish that part, and then extend where we can. And what we need to look at for that for individuals is we follow a process. So step 1, like I was saying at the start, the cheapest way to extend or to renovate your home is do nothing. The next one is just paint a wall, right? Or do new carpet or whatever in there, and that's great. If you can't do that, then knocking down a wall, right, is more expensive, but not as expensive as extending, and try and use the existing structure as best you can without having to extend. And we often will look at that and look at your rooms and go, okay, that's a bedroom, but couldn't that be a study? Or that is a games room. We could make that into a bedroom and turn this bathroom into an ensuite. So we want to try and repurpose the rooms in the home to suit you. And if we are going to extend, we want to do the minimal amount of extension as we can, because that's where it's going to cost you the most amount of money. But the bigger the extension, right, the cheaper per square meter it's going to be. So it's going to be more cost effective because the trades are doing a lot more work than a little job. They're doing a lot more, and you're getting better value for money from that trade because they're doing a bigger job. And that's what's really important. That's what we want to look at. So if you're going to extend your home, you want to extend it one spot of the home, push out, and you want to, like, obviously don't make it bigger for the sake of doing bigger, but just push it out. Now, I just want to be clear here. I'm not saying it's cheaper. I'm just saying it's better value per square meter. I've had some clients, I think, who've misheard me and thought, oh, if we do it bigger, it's cheaper. I goes, no. It's just better per square meter. So ideally try and look at your home and look at it objectively and go, okay, that lounge room, that could be a bedroom. And that minor bedroom, well, we could actually put a walk-in robe in there, and that bathroom could make that into, we could redo that bathroom. And then now I've got, without extending, I've got a master bedroom, ensuite, walk-in robe area. Okay, cool. I've got that spot now. Okay, now where's those minor bedrooms going to go? Okay, well, my study downstairs and my old games room we don't use, let's make that into the kids' bedrooms off that bathroom. Now, hey, maybe we don't need to extend. Or if we're going to extend, we only have to do minor bedrooms. So I hope that all makes sense. So what that is really going, how do I do the least amount of extension possible to get the outcome that we want? So I'll give you a great example. We've got a home in Vic Park for clients, just finished, I think, last week. And with their home, they go on to see an architect who ended up referring them to us anyway. They had a really tight budget, and the architect said, we've got to design the home off to the side here and at the front, and that's the way they're going to get all the extra bedrooms that they wanted in their home. Now, their front of the home is one of the most beautiful Federation sort of homes I've seen, and I think changing the front would be, really sad if we had to do that. But had a look at their home design for them. We had a look at them. They had, one baby on the way, and they had planning a family of two kids in themselves. And I had a look at it and just questioned them on it and said, well, this lounge room that you've got at the front here, that you're currently using as a bedroom, well, why don't we use the kitchen meals family, because it's sort of front living home. Why don't we use that as your master bedroom here, make that into your family room, and this meals area here is meal, and keep your kitchen the same. And this minor bedroom here, it's a really big minor bedroom. It's 4.5 by 4. Why don't we make that into a bedroom, put a wall up, ensuite, walk-in robe? So we really changed very, very little. And then rather than extending all the living areas they were going to do, we just added 2 bedrooms at the back there, turned an activity area into a bedroom, and it cost them a fraction. I think it was half the price of what they're originally looking at and on budget, and having a really good outcome without touching the front of their home. It's just looking at it with fresh eyes and going, well, how can we repurpose these rooms to give you a better outcome and basically challenge you on what you're thinking. Because when you're living in the house and you've lived there maybe for years, you're very close to it. That room's always been the study or the bedroom. Sometimes you need fresh eyes looking at, why don't we change what these are called, repaint them, relook at them, and that's going to save you a lot of money. But if you have to extend, you want to cut once and extend. Okay, really important. So try and find a part of the home where you can go, okay, let's chop it here and extend that home out, and that's going to give you a great outcome because you're only getting a demo team out once, you're only propping up one part of the home here, and you're getting a bigger better value for money by extending it, because the trades are going to get maximum amount of work out of them, and you're going to get a better return, and it will work out much more cost effective with a greater outcome for you. On that note, if you got the new and the old, you are putting new legs on an old body. So you got to remember that you might have to go, we've got to renovate the front now over time. So if you're going to do that, and let's say you've got an old bathroom, try and get that done all in the one thing if you can. If it's not in the budget, that's fine, and you can always get someone out later. But if you can get it all done, you got all the plumbers there at the same time, you're doing it all. It might be a bit inconvenient while you're in the home, but you can actually make all that work. If you get it all done at once, again, that cost effectiveness of the trades is definitely there, and it might save you a small fortune. If you can't do it, well then certainly that's something you need to look at. So these are things when you're renovating, extending, making sure that you're getting that home right for you. And again, no regrets is one of our policies here. You don't want to look back and go, I really wish I had done that and that. You really want to get that right. You can make your home more energy efficient these days. If you've got one of those really old homes, mine's a 1939 California bungalow sort of design. I lose a lot of heat and cooling through the floors and that. There are ways you actually make that a lot more energy efficient for you these days. They're things, again, the builders out there doing it, try and get as much of that stuff done now, and you'll save a lot of money down the track there, obviously all within reason. So that design elements with your home, once the trades are there, you want to maximize the amount of work they're doing. It's going to save you a small fortune. To do a kitchen in your home, if you can try and keep the plumbing and the kitchen location in the same location, great. If not, and you have to relocate it, it's not the end of the world. Sometimes it can cost you about $5,000 to relocate it. It really depends on what your existing home's made out of. Can they get access underneath, to your home? That's what you're looking at. To re-roof your roof to a colour-on roof, or if you want to redo your tiles, again, if the trades are out there, it's not as expensive as you may think. I won't quote figures on this podcast because it depends on the home design, the whole thing, but you can actually be quite cost-effective in doing that. So the things you want to look at, and that's what makes a big difference there. Here at Home Building, independent building advice, what we do here for clients is we actually have a whole range of builders. So we have builders that just do bathrooms and kitchens, and then we have other builders that do $1 million homes and up. Normally have about 21 builders. I think we've got 25 at the moment that we use, and we use the right builder for the right job. So that's what I'm getting at, though, is that if you got your home extended and the bathroom's not in the scope of works, we could always get a bathroom guy in later to do it. So it's not the end of the world, but it is more cost effective getting it all done at once. If you're doing extensions internally and you're doing brick walls and so forth, they generally, if you've got a floating floors, like the timber is the bottom of the floor's off the ground, there's no slab there, that's going to be a lot more expensive to do brick, because they normally have to rip up the flooring and do the footings right through the ground. So timber framed is often a lot cheaper, a lot more affordable, and that's also why you find it with extensions and that doing a second floor. It is very cost effective doing it that way. A lot of clients speak to us about going, we want to do a second floor and we want to, basically done it modular style where it's built in a factory. That is something you should definitely look at. I'm not knocking that. There are companies that we can use for that. What we have found in the past is you want to look at these companies and see, okay, well, how many houses can they produce at any one time, and how big's their factory? Often you'll find there's a long waiting queue, and this is, you got to do your own research here. I'm not knocking them, and there's different horses for different courses. Often there's a long waiting queue for you to actually get your house into that factory, so you're sitting there with your house ready to go, and nothing's happening because it's a bit of a bottleneck. But also, they might be able to put the house on in 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. However, it's the finishing of the home, connecting everything up, doing it. That's generally where you find there could be a lag as well. Often we found some builders that we've worked with that they'll actually start at the same time as a home down the street that's got the modular look, but they're actually finished beforehand because the whole process is done quicker and more seamless than the bottlenecks that happen. And in saying that, one thing that everyone asks is, can I live in the home while I do it? In most cases with our builders, you can actually do that. Again, whichever builder you go to see if you want to do that. We generally just basically dust-proof part of the home, section it off. You live in one bit, they do all the work in the other. And if you're doing a whole renovation, they generally will let you work in. Once they've done this area here, it's all done. They'll lift up the dust-proofing. Obviously, dust is going to get it anyway. You're not going to avoid that. But once you've done all that, then you can actually move from there, and then they'll do the other part, and then dust-proof, and you live in the other part of the home. So they have to work with you. But you are going to delay your building and extension renovation. Trades can't come in and work early in the morning or late at night if they want to catch up because you're there. Okay, now they can't have like drills and that too early in the morning, but they can do other stuff in the home, and they can't do that while you're living there. They're also trying to, they're using that bathroom. We can't use that bathroom, so we just focus on this one, then swap over. It's going to cause delays. They like it or not, they're going to have to move around you. Not all trades, but some of them like swearing in that. They can't do that. They have to be careful because you're in the home. So living in the home, it can be a pain for the trades, but it's definitely doable. Some builders absolutely outright refuse you to live there. You need to check that before you get too far down the road with them if that's what you want to do. Certainly a lot more cost effective living in the house rather than trying to find a rental this day. But there are things you've got to look at. So take that in mind. It might add a couple of weeks to it depending on your extension renovation. Anyway, that's a very big overview of what to do and how to look at it. We look at these homes all day, every day. I've seen so many houses that we look at and go, no, don't do it this way. This is a better way to extend it and renovate it. You got to take into the land, the existing home, what's there, what looks good. If you're changing more than 50% of the home, okay, I mean, looking at it and going, we're changing, I often say to our team here, which room aren't you changing? We're changing everything. If you're changing more than 50%, you're borderline looking at just demolishing, building new. Okay, now if you've got a beautiful front elevation that's built in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and that, I try not to demolish it because they're beautiful. I'm not saying you should demolish it. I'm just saying often it can be more cost effective to do that. And you're not limited by what you've got with the existing structure. So it's a really good way to have a look at it and what does the alternative look like and what would we get for our money. We've done the exercise before because we do both building and extending, so we're neutral as to which way you want to go because we're happy to do it equal, which is important because if you go to a builder that just does new builds, they go, hey, you should demolish and build. And if you go to a company that just extends, they're going to go, you should extend, right? So we do both. But the point is though that we've done the exercise with people before and go, this is what extension looks like. This is what demolishing, building new, and it's $100,000 cheaper. To demolish and build. It's crazy, but it's so fiddly and so difficult. Even if you have an existing structure and you're just relocating all the walls, you're all these poles holding the roof up, the trades have to walk around that and they're going to cost you for it. They're going to charge you for it because they'd rather build a simple, easy house than do that. So you're making my life harder, I'm going to charge you for it. So we've had clients baffled as to why we're moving all the internal walls. We're not really extending. Why the price is so expensive? It's because it's so fiddly, because they have to set this up, fix this up, make this work, move that. It gets quite difficult. So if you're changing all the rooms of the home, watch out. You might get a big bill. And that's the big thing we see as well as designers. This is probably the biggest thing. I think I haven't done the numbers, but over the last 12 months, it would be at least 100 designs that we've seen that people have got a designer and a drafty and who's just designed the home and they basically ignored what's already there and maybe within the same area, but just redrew everything. Well, they changed so much that it's going to be so expensive, it's going to be ridiculous. So you really want someone who's an expert looking at that design and go, okay, this is a cost-effective way of doing it. If you can, prep time, best thing you can do before you start anything is go to your local council and say, do you have plans, a copy of the plans of the original? It'll probably cost you about $160, $150, depending on your council. You pay for it. You have to pay for that whether you get it or not, which is, whatever. But you got to pay for that. But once you have that, that gives whoever's looking at the designer or the builder a lot more information to start with. It tells them where the engineering, what are supporting walls. That is great stuff for us to get to start off with and see what we're looking at. And obviously, if you have a survey of your block of land, that's going to help us with knowing about services and everything else. That's a great way to start when you're going down this process. I'm from Independent Building Advice. We're here if you want to help with your extension or renovation. It's about 40% of our business that we do. We do a lot of them. We help people, we design the home, help them get the best outcome and find the right builder for their project. But here at the Home Building Podcast, we are just here to give you information, get you started, ideally give you ideas, but also to remove some of the guesswork. Thanks for listening. If you know someone who's extending their home, please share this with them. We want to help as many people as we can. If you're looking at building or extending yourself, reach out to us. It's a free chat, doesn't cost you anything, and we can see how we can help each other. If you like what we said here, or you've got some other ideas of your experiences, please comment in the comments below and follow us. We've got weekly podcasts, and we'd love to help you as best we can. Thank you.